Earth cut ties with the Galactic Council and left the universe in chaos. The sun rose over Washington, D.C. just like any other day. Golden light touched the tops of old monuments and new buildings alike. But this day was different. This day would change everything. Admiral William Carter looked out the window of his office at Earth Defense Headquarters. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. 50 years had passed since aliens made contact with Earth. 50 years since humans learned they were not alone. 50 years of being treated like children by the Galactic Council. He turned away from the window and looked at the report on his desk. The Council had sent their final answer. Earth had 1 week to accept their new rules, or face punishment. 1 week to give up their freedom. "They think we'll just roll over and accept this," he said to the empty room. A soft knock came at his door. "Come in," Carter called. Ambassador Susan Miller walked into the office. She was in her 60s, with short silver hair and a face that showed both strength and worry. For 20 years she had spoken for Earth at the council meetings. For 20 years she had fought for human rights among the stars. "They rejected everything," she said. "Every compromise, every suggestion." The council vote was final. Carter wasn't surprised. "And the directive goes into effect in 1 standard week. All human military ships must allow council inspectors on board. All new technology must be shared with the council first. All resource mining must be approved by the council." She sat down heavily in a chair. "They want to control everything we do. Did you tell them we won't accept this?" "I did." The Kelvaran High Chancellor just smiled at me. She mimicked the alien's strange six-lipped expression. He said, "Where will you go, Ambassador? You need our gate network to travel between stars. You need our markets to sell your goods. You need our protection from the Zeraxi." Carter picked up his secure phone. "Then it's time for Plan Exodus. I'll call President Howard." While Carter spoke with the president, Susan looked out at the city below. Humans had come so far in 50 years. They had built ships that could fly between stars. They had made colonies on other worlds. They had learned and grown, but the older alien races still treated them like newcomers, not equals. "It's approved," Carter said after he hung up. "The president will address the people tonight. How long will it take you to get back to council space?" 2 days by gate travel." "Good. That gives us 5 days to get everything ready." Susan stood up. "Will it work? Dr. West's device?" "It has to," Carter said. "We've been planning this for 10 years. Every test has worked so far. Moving a small ship out of normal space is one thing. Moving an entire planet is another." Carter walked to a hidden panel in the wall. He pressed his hand against it and the panel slid open to reveal a screen. He typed in a code, and the screen showed a large underground facility where hundreds of people worked around a massive ring-shaped device. Dr. Eleanor West's quantum displacement drive isn't just one device. We've built thousands of them. They're hidden all over Earth, the Moon, Mars, and our other colonies. When they all work together, they'll create a field around our entire solar system. Susan stared at the screen. "And this will really take us, where exactly?" "To another dimension. A parallel space where we can still see this universe, but the council can't reach us. We'll be free." Susan thought about this. "And what about the rest of the galaxy? What happens when we're gone?" Carter's face grew hard. "That's not our problem. They never treated us as equals. Let them learn how much they really need us." As Susan left to prepare for her return to council space, Carter made more calls. All across Earth and its colonies, secret plans began to unfold. Military bases went on high alert. Hidden factories increased production. Scientists checked and rechecked their calculations. In her private lab beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Eleanor West worked with her team on final adjustments to the master control unit. She was younger than Carter or Susan, only in her 40s, with red hair always tied back in a practical ponytail. For 15 years, she had led the secret project to reverse engineer and improve alien technology. "Status report," she said to her assistant, Paul Green. Paul checked the readings on his tablet. "All displacement units report ready. Power systems are at 98% capacity and rising." And the Promethean modifications, integrated and stable. Without their help, we'd never have solved the dimensional drift problem. Eleanor smiled. The Prometheans were the only aliens who had treated humans as equals. A small group who broke away from their own people. They had secretly shared knowledge with humans for decades. Knowledge the Council kept from younger races. They take a big risk helping us, she said. The Council would punish them severely if they knew. Well, soon neither of us will have to worry about the Council, Paul replied. On the edge of the solar system, Officer Jason White sat at his monitoring station on Pluto base. His job was to watch for any unusual ship movement. The screen in front of him suddenly lit up with dozens of new contacts. "Captain," he called, "we have multiple ships entering the system from the direction of Zeraxi space." Captain George Brown looked at the main display. His eyes widened. "Those are Zeraxi warships," he said. "At least 30 of them. Send an emergency alert to Earth Defense Command. Now." As the alert raced across the solar system, Jason asked, "How did they get past the Council border patrols?" "Either they broke through," Captain Brown said grimly, "or the Council let them through. Either way, we're in trouble." Back in Washington, Admiral Carter received the alert, just as he was about to meet with the Joint Chiefs of Staff. He read it twice to be sure. "Move up the timeline," he ordered. "Tell Dr. West we need to be ready in 3 days, not 5, and get me President Howard immediately." As night fell over America, millions of people watched as President Howard appeared on their screens. With a grave face, she told them about the Council's demands. She explained the plan that had been developed in secret. "For too long," she said, "humanity has been held back, treated as less than equal. Tonight, we take our future into our own hands." Across the solar system, people reacted with shock, fear, and determination. In 3 days, everything would change. In 3 days, Earth would disappear, and far away on the Galactic Council's central world, Ambassador Susan Miller prepared to deliver humanity's final message. Earth cut ties with the Galactic Council and left the universe in chaos. Ambassador Susan Miller stood before the Galactic Council. 200 alien faces looked down at her from their raised seats. Some had scales, others fur. Some had many eyes, others none at all. After 20 years, she still found the sight amazing, but today was not a day for wonder. Today was a day for goodbye. "Honorable representatives," she began, her voice firm and clear. "I come before you one last time. Earth has considered your demands. We reject them completely. As of this moment, Earth withdraws from the Galactic Council." The chamber erupted with noise. Some aliens shouted, others made high whistling sounds or low rumbles of anger. The Kelvaran High Chancellor rose to his full height, his blue scales shining under the bright lights. "This is foolishness," he declared. "Without Council protection, the Zeraxi will destroy your worlds. Without our gate network, your ships cannot travel between stars. You will be alone and helpless." Susan smiled. "We are neither alone nor helpless. Humanity has never been either." On a screen behind her, images began to play. They showed Earth's secret weapons, hidden shipyards, and the quantum displacement technology. "For 50 years you have given us scraps of knowledge while keeping the best for yourselves. For 50 years we have studied, learned, and built. We no longer need your gates. We no longer need your protection." The council members watched in growing horror as they realized how much the humans had done in secret. "Even now," Susan continued, "Zeraxi ships approach our solar system. Did you let them through your borders to punish us? No matter. In 3 days, Earth and all its colonies will be beyond your reach, and beyond theirs." Back on Earth, the countdown moved quickly. Military ships formed a defensive line around the solar system, ready to hold off the Zeraxi until the displacement drive could activate. Captain Nicole Harris stood at the command center of Earth's largest orbital platform. At 40, she was one of Earth's most respected space officers, with dark skin and hair kept short under her uniform cap. "Status report," she ordered. "Displacement field generators are at 75% power and rising," replied her second-in-command, Lieutenant Alan Wright. "Dr. West reports all systems functioning normally." "And the Zeraxi?" Still on approach. Estimated time to engagement, 6 hours. Nicole frowned. Not enough time. The field won't be ready for 9 hours. Admiral Carter has ordered all ships to delay the Zeraxi as long as possible. Nicole watched the tactical display as Earth's defenders moved into position. They were outnumbered, but they only needed to buy time. Beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Eleanor West worked frantically with her team. The displacement drive's activation had been moved up by 2 days. Systems that needed final checks were being pushed to their limits. "Power flow to Sector 7 is unstable," called out Paul. Eleanor rushed to his station. "Reroute through the backup conduits. We can't afford a failure." A new voice spoke from the doorway. "Perhaps we can help." Eleanor turned to see 3 Prometheans enter the lab. They looked almost human except for their silvery skin and large, dark eyes. The leader, who called himself Jack, stepped forward. "We've brought additional power regulators," he said. "They should stabilize the system." "Thank you," Eleanor said. "But aren't you taking a huge risk being here? If the council finds out you've been helping us..." Jack smiled sadly. "The council's time is ending. They have ruled too long and too selfishly. What follows may be chaos, but from chaos can come a better order." In space, the battle began. Earth ships fired their weapons at the approaching Zeraxi fleet. The alien ships were strange, organic-looking things that seemed to flow and change shape as they moved. Admiral Carter watched from his command ship. "Hold them back," he ordered. "Just 4 more hours." The Zeraxi ships fired strange energy weapons that made Earth shields flicker and fail. 3 human ships exploded in bright flashes, but the defenders fought on, buying time with their lives. On the Council world, Ambassador Susan was under guard. The Council called her actions treason and threatened severe punishment. "Your threats mean nothing," she told them. "Soon I will be beyond your reach along with all of humanity." The Kelvaran Chancellor approached her cell. "Do you understand what you're doing?" he asked. "Earth's technology has become woven into the fabric of Council infrastructure. Your ships maintain our gate network. Your computers help run our trade systems. If you vanish, taking it all with you, then perhaps you should have treated us as partners, not servants," Susan replied coldly. The hours ticked by. On Earth, people waited in fear and hope. Some prayed, others celebrated what they saw as a new Independence Day. Children asked parents where they were going. The truth was, no one really knew. In her lab, Dr. West watched as power levels reached 95%. "Begin the activation sequence," she ordered. Around Earth, the Moon, Mars, and every human colony, thousands of hidden devices powered up. A shimmering field of energy began to form, surrounding all of human space. On the orbital platform, Captain Harris received the alert. "Displacement field is forming," she announced. "All ships within the boundary, hold position." The Zeraxi ships, sensing something was happening, renewed their attack with greater fury. 2 broke through the defensive line and headed for Earth. "Intercept them," Admiral Carter ordered. His own ship moved to block their path. As the field strengthened, strange effects began. Stars seemed to shift position, light bent in impossible ways. The very fabric of reality was changing around the solar system. In the council chamber, alarms began to sound. Screens showed critical systems failing across multiple worlds. As Earth began to shift out of normal space, the backdoors and dependencies in their technology activated. "What have you done?" the Chancellor demanded of Susan. "Taught you a lesson," she replied as her body began to shimmer with the same energy surrounding Earth. "Goodbye, Chancellor. Perhaps we'll meet again someday, as equals." Dr. West watched her instruments as the field reached full power. Displacement in 3, 2, 1. There was no great flash, no dramatic explosion. From the perspective of Council space, Earth and its colonies simply faded away, leaving empty space where a thriving civilization had been. And from Earth, the stars looked different now. They were in the same arrangements, but somehow changed, as if seen through a thin veil. "Displacement successful," Dr. West reported to President Howard. We're now in a parallel dimensional band. The Council can't reach us here. Across human space, people looked up at the new sky and wondered what would happen next. Earth cut ties with the Galactic Council and left the universe in chaos. 6 months had passed since Earth vanished from normal space. Vice Admiral Frank Rogers stood at the viewing window of Outpost Sentinel, a hidden human station located in what used to be the Proxima Centauri system. The outpost existed in a pocket between dimensions, allowing humans to watch the galaxy without being seen. Frank was 50, with dark hair going gray at the temples and a thin scar along his jaw from an old battle. He had been chosen for this mission because he understood both military strategy and alien politics. "Status report," he said to the woman working at the monitoring station. "Things are getting worse," replied analyst Rebecca Martinez, bringing up images on the main screen. 3 more Council border worlds have fallen to the Zeraxi in the past week. Frank studied the images. They showed alien cities burning, refugees crowding onto ships, and Zeraxi war vessels moving unopposed through space. "What about the Council defense fleet?" "That's just it," Rebecca said. "They can't coordinate their ships anymore. The navigation, systems, weapons targeting, even basic communications, they all ran on protocols designed by human engineers. Without our maintenance crews and software updates, the systems are failing." Frank nodded grimly. During the 50 years humans had been part of the galactic community, they had worked their way into every level of Council infrastructure. Not because they planned to sabotage it, but because humans were good at making different systems work together. The aliens had come to rely on this human talent without ever acknowledging it. "The trading networks are breaking down too," Rebecca continued. 7 major hub worlds have reported food shortages. On Arcturus Prime, there are riots in the streets. And the gates? 30% of the gate network is now offline. The rest is unstable. Travel times between systems have tripled. Frank turned away from the screens. "It's worse than we expected. The Council never admitted how much they depended on us." Later that day, Frank sent his report through the quantum channel to Earth. In the new location humanity had chosen, a star system in a parallel dimensional band, the report would be reviewed by the highest levels of government. President Howard sat in the Oval Office, reading Frank's report with a frown. After 6 months, the initial celebration of independence had faded. Some people were starting to question whether cutting ties completely had been the right choice. "The situation is deteriorating faster than our models predicted," said National Security Advisor Laura Wilson. "The Zeraxi are taking advantage of the chaos to expand their territory." "That's not our problem anymore," Howard replied, but her voice lacked conviction. "Isn't it?" Laura asked quietly. "We left to gain our freedom, not to cause the collapse of half the galaxy." In her new research facility beneath the Pacific Ocean, Dr. Eleanor West was working with the Prometheans on a project they called Dimensional Anchors. These devices would allow limited contact between Earth's new location and normal space. "The theory is sound," said Jack, the Promethean leader. "We can create stable corridors between dimensions at specific points. Like doorways we can open and close at will," Eleanor said, studying the glowing hologram in front of her. "Exactly. Your people would be able to send ships or communications back to normal space without becoming vulnerable to attack or control." Eleanor thought about the implications. "So, we could help without rejoining the Council." "If your leaders choose to," Jack said carefully. "My people have watched many civilizations rise and fall. Those who isolate themselves completely often stagnate. Those who engage without caution are often exploited. The wise path lies between." On a former Council world called Nebulon IV, now under Zeraxi control, a small group of human special forces soldiers moved silently through ruins. They wore advanced stealth suits and carried weapons that hadn't existed 6 months ago. Captain Ethan Collins led the team. They had been sent on a reconnaissance mission through one of Dr. West's experimental dimensional corridors. Their orders were to observe only, to gather information about Zeraxi occupation methods. But what they found was worse than anyone had imagined. The Zeraxi weren't just conquering worlds. They were transforming them. Strange organic machines pumped chemicals into the atmosphere. The few surviving natives were being changed, their bodies altered to serve their new masters. "We need to get this data back to command," Ethan whispered to his team. "This is biological warfare on a planetary scale." Back on Earth, a growing movement led by Commander Olivia Peterson was calling for limited re-engagement with the galaxy. They called themselves the Responsibility Coalition. "We made our point," Olivia argued in a public debate that was broadcast across all human colonies. "We showed the Council that we won't be treated as inferiors. But now innocent beings are suffering for our decision." Her opponent, Senator Harry Mitchell, shook his head. "The moment we go back, they'll try to control us again. Our independence must be absolute." "Independence doesn't have to mean isolation," Olivia countered. "We can help on our terms." Polls showed the public was divided. Many enjoyed the prosperity that had come with freedom from Council restrictions. Human innovation, no longer held back by alien rules about appropriate technology paths, had accelerated dramatically. New cities were rising on Mars and the Moon. The asteroid belt was being mined with incredible efficiency. The first human settlement in another star system within their new dimensional space had been established. Without the Council looking over their shoulders, humans were thriving. But news from the old galaxy troubled many. The Council races had never been friends exactly, but they hadn't been enemies either. The thought of them suffering under Zeraxi rule made many humans uncomfortable. In a secret facility on Luna, Dr. West met with President Howard and the Joint Chiefs of Staff. She presented her findings on the dimensional anchor technology. "We can create stable corridors to specific locations in normal space," she explained. "Small ships could pass through. We could even establish permanent outposts, if we wanted to." "Would these corridors work both ways?" asked General Sophia Lee. "Could the Zeraxi follow us back?" "No. The entry points in normal space would be invisible unless activated from our side, and we can close them instantly if threatened." President Howard studied the plans thoughtfully. "So we could send help without exposing Earth to danger." "Exactly," Eleanor said. "And there's something else. The Prometheans have shared information about the Zeraxi that the Council never told us. They're an ancient enemy that the Prometheans have fought across multiple dimensions. That's why the Prometheans sought us out. They believe humans have unique qualities that make us effective against the Zeraxi." "What qualities?" asked Admiral Carter. "Our adaptability, our creativity when faced with problems, and something in our neurological structure that makes us resistant to Zeraxi psychic influence." President Howard was silent for a long moment. "Prepare a proposal for limited intervention," she finally said. "Targeted operations only using the dimensional corridors. We'll help fight the Zeraxi, but on our terms, not the Council's." As the meeting ended, Dr. West pulled the president aside. "There's one more thing you should know. The dimensional shift has had unexpected effects. The universe isn't as stable as we thought. Our actions have caused ripples across reality. If we don't find a balance soon, there may be consequences none of us can predict." Earth cut ties with the Galactic Council and left the universe in chaos. 2 years had passed since Earth removed itself from normal space. In that time, the galaxy had changed in ways no one had predicted. The Zeraxi Imperium now controlled nearly a third of what was once Council space. 5 inhabited worlds had been turned into lifeless wastelands by Zeraxi bioweapons. The Council, once a unified government of 87 species, had broken into 3 competing alliances that fought among themselves almost as much as they fought the Zeraxi. In the secure briefing room of New Terra Defense Command, built beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Kevin Patel reviewed the latest intelligence reports. He was a stocky man with dark eyes that missed nothing and a reputation for straight talk. "The Zeraxi have adapted our displacement technology," he said to the assembled military leaders. "They can't match our range or stability, but they're using short jumps to bypass defensive lines." "How did they get our tech?" demanded Commander Olivia Peterson. Since the debate 6 months ago, she had become the unofficial leader of those who favored helping the galaxy against the Zeraxi. Intelligence Chief Lisa Turner slid a data crystal across the table. We have confirmation. The Kelvaran military sold them our research data from before the Exodus. They thought they could buy Zeraxi cooperation. Angry mutters filled the room. The Kelvarans had been among the most vocal critics of humanity in the Council. Now they had given dangerous technology to the enemy. The door opened, and President Daniel Morris entered. Howard had lost the recent election to Morris, who had run on a platform of cautious re-engagement with normal space. "Ladies and gentlemen," Morris said, "it's time to implement Operation Safeguard." Images appeared on the screens around the room, showing strategic locations throughout former Council space. These are the sites where Dr. West's team will establish dimensional anchor points. We'll build fortified outposts at each location, serving as safe havens for refugees and bases for resistance fighters. General Patel studied the map. Some of these are deep in Zeraxi territory now. All the more reason to put them there, Morris replied. The Zeraxi don't expect opposition behind their lines, and our dimensional technology gives us the perfect way to appear where they least expect us. The meeting continued for hours as they finalized plans. Ships would be modified with the new displacement drives developed by Dr. West. These drives would allow vessels to phase in and out of normal space at will, giving them complete tactical surprise in battle. 3 days later, Ambassador Susan Miller stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, a new class of ship designed for interdimensional operations. After 2 years in Earth's new home, she was returning to normal space on a diplomatic mission. "Ready for transition," reported the ship's captain, a young woman named Heather Davis. Susan nodded. "Proceed, Captain." The Defiance's engines hummed as the dimensional drive activated. The view outside the ship's windows changed, the stars shifting subtly as they moved between realities. "Transition complete," Captain Davis announced. "We've arrived at the coordinates for New Arcturus." Outside, a space station orbited a small moon. It was clearly of Council design but modified with new elements. This was the headquarters of the Reformed Council, the largest of the 3 alliances that had formed after Earth's departure. Susan's message was simple. Earth would help defeat the Zeraxi threat, but only as equals, not as members subject to Council authority. As Susan prepared for her meeting, another human ship made its own dimensional transition. The UES Hammer, commanded by Admiral William Carter himself, appeared at the edge of a star system deep in Zeraxi territory. "All weapons ready," Carter ordered. "Target their command center." The Earthship opened fire before the Zeraxi even knew they were there. Energy beams cut through the alien defenses like they weren't even there. 2 years of intensive research and development, free from Council restrictions, had given humanity weapons that far surpassed anything the Zeraxi had seen before. "First wave of strikes complete," reported Carter's weapons officer. "Their orbital defenses are down." "Launch the ground teams," Carter ordered. Drop pods streaked toward the planet below. Inside them, human Special Forces troops prepared for battle. They wore powered armor suits that could withstand most Zeraxi weapons and carried rifles that fired particles that could disrupt the aliens' natural shielding. Captain Ethan Collins led the first squad to hit the surface. "Remember," he told his team, "our job is to secure the research facility. The science team thinks the Zeraxi are adapting our displacement tech there. They fought their way through the alien complex. The Zeraxi were strange opponents, part biological, part mechanical, with bodies that could reshape themselves to form weapons or shields. But the humans had trained for this, and they had the element of surprise. In the central lab, Ethan found what they were looking for: displacement drive components clearly based on stolen human designs. "Set the charges," he ordered. "This whole place needs to go." As the human forces struck at the Zeraxi, Dr. Eleanor West was meeting with Jack and the other Prometheans in her lab on Earth. They were concerned about something unexpected. "The dimensional barriers are weakening," Jack explained, showing her readings from their sensors. "Each time we create a corridor between dimensions, it leaves a scar in space-time." "How serious is this?" Eleanor asked. "If it continues at the current rate, In approximately 5 years, there will be permanent tiers between dimensions. That could allow uncontrolled travel between realities or worse, the bleeding together of dimensions that were never meant to touch. Eleanor felt cold. We need to find a solution, some way to repair the damage we're causing. There might be a way, Jack said. But it would require cooperation between all advanced species, humans, council races, even the Zeraxi if possible. The Zeraxi would never cooperate. They want to conquer, not build. Then we must defeat them quickly, Jack said, before the damage becomes irreparable. On the Reformed Council station, Susan Miller's diplomatic mission was going better than expected. The council races had learned hard lessons in the past 2 years. We acknowledge that Earth was not treated with the respect it deserved, said the new council speaker, an avian being named Carax. The old council's arrogance cost us dearly. It did, Susan agreed. But now we face a common enemy. Earth is willing to share its dimensional technology and help fight the Zeraxi, but we will not submit to council authority again. What do you propose instead? Asked Carax. A new alliance. The Dimensional Commonwealth. Equal membership for all sentient species. Shared technology and defense, but complete internal autonomy for each member world. As the diplomats worked out the details of this new arrangement, Earth ships continued to strike at Zeraxi targets across the galaxy. The alien advance, which had seemed unstoppable, began to slow. But each dimensional transition, each new anchor, point established in normal space, added to the strain on reality itself. Dr. West worked frantically with her team to find a solution before it was too late. And in the darkness between stars, Zeraxi leaders gathered to plan their response to this new human threat. They had underestimated humanity once. They would not make that mistake again. Earth cut ties with the Galactic Council and left the universe in chaos. 5 years had passed since Earth's dramatic exodus from normal space. In that time, the galaxy had been transformed. Admiral William Carter stood on the bridge of the UES, Defiance, watching as ships from 20 different species moved in perfect formation around the newly constructed Concord station. The station orbited the neutral world of Epsilon Eridani IV, chosen as the headquarters for the Dimensional Commonwealth, the new alliance that had replaced the old Galactic Council. Quite a sight, said Ambassador Susan Miller, who had joined him for the ceremony. Carter nodded. Hard to believe these were the same races who once looked down on us as barely civilized newcomers. Nothing changes perspective like necessity, Susan replied with a small smile. The combined forces of Earth and the reformed alien alliances had pushed the Zeraxi Imperium back to its original borders. The war had been fierce, with losses on all sides, but the turning point had come when Admiral Carter pioneered new battle tactics using dimensional phasing. Earth ships would appear, strike hard, and vanish before the enemy could respond. On the main view screen, a signal indicated it was time. Susan straightened her formal uniform and prepared to address the gathered representatives in the Concord chamber. Unlike the old council chamber with its hierarchical arrangement, this hall was circular, with all delegations seated as equals. Earth had refused to rejoin the old council, but had instead proposed this new alliance based on mutual respect and shared knowledge. Representatives of the Dimensional Commonwealth, Susan began, her voice carried by translators to every ship. And world-watching, today we formalize what our shared struggle has already proven, that we are stronger together than apart, but only when each member's sovereignty is respected. She outlined the principles of the Commonwealth. Each species would determine its own development path, free from interference. Technology would be shared openly among all members, and the dimensional displacement technology would ensure that no central authority could control movement between systems. The former council races had little choice but to accept these terms. Earth's technological leap during its isolation had changed the balance of power permanently. Human outposts now protected key trade routes, and dimensional engineering had made traditional space defenses obsolete. As Susan completed the formal speeches, Dr. Eleanor West was working with a team of scientists from a dozen different species. They had gathered on Earth's moon, where the Multiversal Academy had been established. Here, the brightest minds in the galaxy worked to solve the crisis that threatened them all, the growing instability in the dimensional barriers. The latest readings show continued degradation, reported a Kelvaran scientist. Once among humanity's greatest critics, the blue-scaled aliens had become important allies after suffering heavily under Zeraxi occupation. The tiers are spreading faster than our models predicted, added Jack, the Promethean leader. We have perhaps 2 years before critical failure occurs. Eleanor studied the three-dimensional display showing the network of cracks spreading through the fabric of reality. Each time they used the displacement technology, the damage grew worse, but without that technology, they couldn't have defeated the Zeraxi or built the Commonwealth. What about the resonance field? She asked. A scientist from a species called the Nurani, with 6 eyes and silvery fur, adjusted the controls. Simulations show it could work, but we would need to generate the field from multiple points throughout all known space, and all displacement technology would need to be shut down during the repair process. This was the plan they had developed. A network of devices that would generate a special energy field designed to heal the tiers in space-time. But it would temporarily disable all dimensional travel, leaving Commonwealth worlds vulnerable if any enemies attacked. We need to present this to the Commonwealth leadership today, Eleanor decided. We can't wait any longer. Not all humans were pleased with these developments. General Kevin Patel had resigned from Earth Defense Command in protest over sharing displacement technology with other species. We fought for independence, not to become the galaxy's guardians, he had said in his resignation speech. A small but vocal minority had followed him, establishing the Earth Preservation Enclave on Mars. They maintained minimal contact with the rest of humanity and no contact with non-human civilizations. But most humans had embraced their new role. President Daniel Morris addressed these concerns in his Unity Day speech, broadcast to all human settlements. Our withdrawal was never meant to be permanent isolation, but a necessary step to reset a relationship that had become unbalanced. Humanity's destiny lies not in dominating the galaxy, but in helping to create a more just cosmic order. As Morris spoke, Captain Ethan Collins and his Special Forces team were investigating a disturbing discovery on the edge of known space. The Zeraxi threat remained, contained, but not defeated. Intelligence suggested they were regrouping in adjacent dimensional planes. The energy readings are off the charts, reported his science officer Linda Zhao. They're trying to create a stable gateway between dimensions. To bypass our defenses? Ethan asked. Worse. I think they're trying to bring something through. Something big. They watched as Zeraxi scientists worked around a massive ring-shaped device. It looked similar to the original displacement drive, but much larger and connected to strange organic components that pulsed with unnatural light. We need to destroy that thing and get this data back to command, Ethan decided. On Earth, as Eleanor prepared to present her findings to the Commonwealth leadership, she received an urgent message from Jack. The dimensional distortions are accelerating, he told her. It's not just our technology causing the damage anymore. Something else is putting pressure on the barriers from another dimension. Eleanor felt a chill. The Zeraxi? Possibly. Or something they're working with. Either way, we're running out of time. As the galaxy adjusted to its new balance of power, one thing had become clear. The species that had once been patronizingly welcomed as newcomers to the galactic community had forever altered the course of cosmic history. Captain Nicole Harris, now commanding the dimensional research vessel UES Pathfinder, recorded in her log. 5 years ago, Earth cut ties with the Galactic Council to gain its freedom. We never expected to find ourselves more deeply connected to the galaxy's fate than ever before. The barriers between dimensions grow weaker. The Zeraxi prepare for a new offensive, and humanity stands at the center of the coming storm. Whatever happens next will determine not just our future, but the future of reality itself. The Pathfinder's sensors registered a new distortion forming nearby. Harris ordered her crew to battle stations. Whatever was coming through, they would be ready. The ship's dimensional drives powered up, ready to phase them out of danger if needed. But as the fabric of space-time rippled before them, Harris made a different decision. "Hold position," she ordered. "It's time we faced whatever's coming head-on." The crew braced themselves as the distortion grew larger, a window opening between realities. And through that window came something none of them had expected. But that is a story for another day.